Good morning. It's October 7th, 2024, and this is the World Telegram News with our new weekly edition of WTN News Audio. I'm Adrian Mata in Orlando. With the latest from our newsroom in Buffalo, here's the stories you're waking up to this morning. Today marks 1 year since Hamas and other Palestinian militant groups launched armed attacks on southern Israel. At 7 a.m. local time, midnight in New York, the first of several attacks took place at the Nova Music Festival, killing over 350 people, including some police officers. Out of the 40 hostages taken, 4 were rescued, 5 were released, and 13 bodies were recovered, while 18 remain in Hamas custody from that event. All 10 of the attacks resulted in a total of 1,180 deaths in Israel, along with 3,400 wounded and 251 civilians and soldiers taken captive, of whom 65 later died or were confirmed dead. Meanwhile, Israel reported that 1,600 of Hamas's fighters were killed, with approximately 200 captured. As a result of these coordinated attacks, Israel's larger war on Hamas has snowballed into separate conflicts with Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israel's war with Hamas has left between 68,000 and 82,000 people dead, missing, or captured, and 103,000 wounded in the West Bank and Gaza, including the death of former Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. Israel's casualty figures are disproportionately lower, with nearly 2,000 either dead or captured and 14,000 wounded. The conflict with Hezbollah has resulted in over 1,000 deaths since Israel began conducting mass airstrikes on September 23rd of this year. The total death toll from October 7th of last year is slightly over 2,000. New details from Lebanon indicate that 1.2 million Lebanese have been displaced, according to the Prime Minister. Finally, Israel's conflict with Iran has resulted in 14 Iranian deaths and has left 35 Israelis injured. The International Criminal Court has intervened amid extensive debate on whether the disproportionate number of deaths in Gaza amounts to genocide. The ICC has since filed warrants for the arrest of several Hamas leaders, as well as for Netanyahu himself. President Biden made his first appearance at a White House press briefing on Friday. He was joined by Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre and National Economic Advisor Lael Brainerd. The administration addressed its response to several recent challenges, including rising tensions in the Middle East, the now-resolved port strike, and the government's response to Hurricane Helene, which has faced criticism and speculation. Hurricane Helene has killed around 200 people, leaving an additional 300 missing and leaving behind nearly $40 million in damage. Helene began as a tropical storm on September 24th and moved north from southeastern Mexico through the Caribbean, making landfall near Florida's Big Bend as a Category 4 hurricane on September 27th. The storm weakened to a Category 2 as it passed through Georgia and Tennessee on September 28th, then further downgraded to a tropical depression, reaching the Midwest before dissipating on September 29th. President Biden and FEMA head Deanne Criswell have attributed the hurricane severity to climate change. Biden affirmed this connection unequivocally. But Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas warns that a relief effort will use up much of FEMA's resources. Several Republicans attribute this to the government's response to the ongoing migrant crisis along the U.S.-Mexico border, but there's no evidence of this being the case as of this report. FEMA does hold a separate fund called the Shelters and Services Program, which has been allotted $640 million for the current fiscal year. While FEMA grapples with Hurricane Helene's impact, the next hurricane is on its way, and its name is Milton. The storm is expected to strengthen this morning to a hurricane, reach the shores of Florida near Tampa on Wednesday morning, and pass Georgia on Thursday, where it's expected to terminate near the Atlantic Ocean. As of this report, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has already called a state of emergency in at least 54 counties across the state. On Saturday, former President Trump returned to Butler, Pennsylvania, where the first assassination attempt on him occurred. The rally was also attended by SpaceX's Elon Musk, who spoke on stage in support of the former president and his policies. This comes amid talk online following allegations that Trump's wife Melania will signal her support for the right to abortion in her upcoming self-titled book called Melania, according to reports by The Guardian. The former First Lady further alluded to it in a video post on X.
Without a doubt, there is no room for compromise when it comes to this essential right that all women possess from birth, individual freedom. What does my body, my choice really mean?
And finally, the former Memphis police officers responsible for the killing of Tyree Nichols last year have been convicted after beating him to death after he ran away during a traffic stop. Nichols died 3 days later. The officers will be sentenced next year on January 22nd. With your news with more detail in less time than our competition, that's today's extended news audio for Monday, October 7th, 2024. Edwardy Jackson was the writer and managing editor for this edition. Ashton Renna and myself proofread this report for accuracy, and of course, I'm Adrian Mata. WTN News covers the world next at 9 this evening.